The US likes to be seen as one of the world's leading human rights advocates, but at home it faces growing accusations of hypocrisy. Tens of thousands of professional torturers have reportedly been trained on American soil over the past 60 years, and it's claimed that many of them have used their techniques abroad, as Kaylin Ford reports.
It's been 30 years since Colombian soldiers kidnapped, beat, starved, and electroshocked Hector Aristizabal, all for having a, quote, subversive book. But it's a memory he relives every day.
Few people have survived torture in Colombia, so I'm very lucky to be able to tell the story. Most people get tortured for 10 days, that's the standard, and then they get shot and killed. Many had been disappeared.
Hector says the Colombian soldiers who tortured him and later killed his brother were trained right here on American soil at the School of the Americas in Fort Benning, Georgia. Army Major Joseph Blair was an instructor there.
I was very much in favor of the School of the Americas during the Cold War era.
But Major Blair says he was horrified with what his former students did with their anti-communist training in their own country.
The classified manuals that the Army School of the Americas used the words interrogate, extortion, assassinate, neutralize. In common layman's terms, it all equates to torture.
Graduates from the School of the Americas have been implicated in massacres and torture throughout the hemisphere. Of the more than 60,000 soldiers and police to have graduated, 10,000 of them have been Colombian.
Colombia has been the largest user of the School of the Americas, and I don't think it's an accident that Colombia is the biggest abuser of human rights in the Western Hemisphere.
The 8th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution forbids torture and other forms of cruel and unusual punishment, as does the Geneva Convention. But
it did happen. There's no question that our country not only engaged in torture itself, but taught others how to do it. We also rendered people, we also sent people to prisons in other countries where they were in fact tortured there.
President Barack Obama meets Australian Prime Minister Julia Gillard on a brief visit to Australia. Obama attends a state dinner in Canberra, and Gillard teases Obama about the need to make sure he is well fed.
At a state's dinner in Canberra, Australian Prime Minister Julia Gillard jokes that she must make sure US President Barack Obama is well fed.
And Mr. President, I also wanted to say to you, we've been a little bit nervous about tonight because my partner Tim really got a talking to from the First Lady when we were in Hawaii. She said to him that you often don't eat because you are so focused on your work that you forget to eat, and she wanted to make sure that we fed you well in Australia. So the only answer to that was to ensure you had a hearty meal and to make sure that there were 600 to 700 witnesses.
Obama is on a 2-day visit to Australia to discuss his country's vision for the Asia-Pacific region.
You come to our country with all of the honours due to a head of state. You come as an ally, as a partner and as a friend.
During his speech to the guests, Obama thanked Gillard for a productive meeting and tried his hand at Australian slang.
Filipino activists protest a visit by US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Clinton is in the Philippines to mark the anniversary of a military treaty between the two countries.
U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton arrived in Manila Tuesday for meetings to commemorate the 60th anniversary of a military treaty between the U.S. and the Philippines. The Mutual Defense Treaty dictates that both nations would support each other if either were to be attacked by an external party. Earlier in the day, demonstrators rallied to protest the Secretary's visit. Demonstrators say the treaty unfairly benefits the U.S. and enables its military presence in Asia.
We are particularly protesting the 60 years of the Mutual Defense Treaty, an agreement that has not benefited the Filipino people. We're also protesting the Visiting Forces Agreement, which has kept U.S. troops in the Philippines for nearly a decade, longer than the stay of U.S. troops in Iraq.
Clinton will meet with her counterpart and Philippine President Benigno Aquino on Wednesday.
Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is Friday, November 18th, 2011, and I'm Darko. My website is ggnonline.com. That's ggnonline.com. Also on YouTube, ddarko2012 is my YouTube channel. That's ddarko2012. And on Facebook, Global Government News has a group, over 100 members now. The link for that and the Twitter account for GGN will be with all the articles and YouTube's video description. Also, if you'd like to receive emails from GGN, you can put in your email address there and get them from that source right there. Also, I have a poll up here. You have 9 days left to vote. 33 people have voted so far. And it says here, the next CEO for the corporation known as the United States of America will be the first gay, Caucasian, Hispanic man. And I just want to put it out there that when I put Caucasian, Hispanic, or I put Hispanic Asian man, they don't necessarily have to be homosexual. So there's no other way to really put it all into this poll, but I'll just go out there and put it there. So we've obviously had the first Caucasian man, but you can kind of see where I'm getting at with this. Just the powers that be are throwing someone out there that's new and flavorful, and they know what the people want, and they try to duplicate that. And it's usually co-opted, so that's what I'm getting at. I'm not, talking, saying that it's immoral if you're any of these people. So, but you go in there and check that out. The first transsexual hermaphrodite, then you have the first cyborg. Someone wrote that Dick Cheney was actually the for the vice president was a cyborg with his heart, and that says here the first alien from off planet. 39%, 13 voters are saying that, followed by 27%, none of these. Okay, you can donate there on YouTube's video description. I'm going to move on here, get ready. U.S. military pact raises tensions at summit. This is from today, from the Sydney Morning Herald out of Australia. The Chinese premier has warned against external interference in a dispute over the South China Sea, fueled by Australia's new military pact with the United States, as world leaders prepare to discuss the issue in Bali. And you saw Gillard and Obama there, and her talking about how she's going to feed him well and stuff like that. And then on Wednesday when I showed the pictures of him, she was like feeling him up on his depending on where you're from, bum or ass. And they really look like they have some kind of like, not rapport, but something going on there. But either way, yeah, so, the thing is, too, is that we remember in World War II, while all the Australian men were exported out of the country, well, a good amount of them to fight for the crown in different parts of the world, what happened? Well, you had the Marines coming in, taking a break in Australia, and sleeping with all their wives, all the soldiers that were out of Australia's wives, and that's what happened there in World War II. Also, I remember when I was in Australia, and before I went to Australia, while I was in the Marine Corps, was that they kept saying, and this is in 2001 and 2003/4, that they were going to have a permanent U.S. military base there. And I was in the aviation, the air wing with F-18s, and they kept saying this, and now it's actually come to pass. And they actually do have a permanent base now. They're building and stuff like that. The Australian Air Force, Royal Australian Air Force, RAF, whatever, and the U.S. Marine Corps, and that they do work a lot. They work together a lot. So just so you know, they've been doing this for like 10, 20 years now, and the Marines have been doing regular deployments working with the Australian Air Force. And like someone said, those troops that were sent over there, the Marines, they're there, yeah, for whatever, because they're usually Pacific theater, the Marines and that, the first ones to go, but also what? To train for a missile shield out there too. So big stuff happening out in the Pacific right now. Under the plan announced in Canberra on Wednesday, up to 250 U.S. Marines will train for 6 months at a time in the Northern Territory, just 800 kilometers from Indonesia. It says here, rising to a full 2,500 strong Marine Air Ground Task Force by 2016. Indonesia responds warily to Obama sending U.S. troops to Australia. It says here the first regional response to Obama, or, like I said, he has plenty of names, Harrison Budin. It says here, announcement of a long-term deployment of U.S. troops in Asia has not been positive. China's reaction to the news about the U.S. Marines being stationed in the Northern Territory on a sustained basis was unsurprisingly cool, given the unstated but widely recognized fact that the move is aimed at counterbalancing a rising China. It said here the announcements prompted weariness in Indonesia. Obama, where he actually used to live, remember, he was trained in a Muslim school where only Muslims can go to, when his name was Barry Soetoro, or like I said, Harrison Trudeau, before Barack Obama was the illusion or fantasy of Barack Obama was born, a leading Southeast Asian country whose size and location makes it an important player in the U.S.-China regional rivalry. It's like a battleground, basically, is what they're getting at. But remember, they have a lot of oil there as well, and in that area. Next up, it says here, Obama, any cuts in defense spending won't come at expense of Asia Pacific, and he's signaling determination to counter a rising China. Said he vowed on Thursday to expand influence in the Asia Pacific region and, quote, project power, i.e. soft power, and deter threats to peace in that part of the world. In other words, no-fly zones, humanitarian mission, possibly even drones flying over, killing people, mostly civilians in that part of the world, even as he reduces defense spending and winds down to war. Yeah, remember what he said. The U.S. is a Pacific power. Ooh, the United States and the North American continent is a Pacific power, not China. And we are here to stay. Remember that? We are here to stay. Next up, we have this. Australia at the very heart of the new Pacific region. It says here, Obama receives rapturous send-off, received a nice send-off in Darwin. As I said, I was there actually before Darwin. It says he will send the U.S. troop withdrawal in Iraq, so he'll use the troop withdrawals in Iraq and Afghanistan. So they're winding down the wars. They always say that, right? Like when they started in Iraq, they went to Afghanistan. No, they're not winding them down. They're just shifting the pawns, the troops in Afghanistan, who bolster forces in the Asia Pacific, the strongest sign yet that Australia would be the center of a new world order. Oh, that Australia would be the center of a new world order. How do you like that, Aussies? Then we have China-Pakistan joint military drill held in Pakistan. That's right. Got all kinds of pictures here of different individuals training. Got some fat officers. That's for dang sure. Need to get out on that treadmill or something. China vows closer military ties with North Korea. I've covered this before about the Chinese soldiers. Mostly what? They're spoiled because there's their one-child policy and all that, and they're actually kind of weak. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of them, but they're not that tough. And the thing is that what? China was brought up by the West. Now it's time to bring them down a little bit. Remember that video with Pike? China wasn't really part of the whole thing, and that's why China's just being used for slave labor and other reasons. But they're not going to be the global army, I don't think. Maybe they will. Police say man set himself on fire in Tiananmen Square. That's right. So yeah, it says here, moving on, do you think the establishment is growing Hitlery or Hitler for Hillary Clinton for something? Oh. So yeah, go on that cover. Look at that. Hillary Clinton and the rise of, so here we go again. Smart power. Remember that term? Soft power. That means not going in there and just right away just, us versus them. No, it's using soft power, which is coup d'etats and intelligence, color revolutions and uprisings. Nothing really grassroots. Was it the Hegelian dialect, pitting two sides against each other and swooping in as the savior, which is like we heard, which is going to happen with Lucifer and that in the end. It says here, Obama admits to being born in Asia. So that's right. He's campaigning in Hawaii this week. So if Hawaii's in Asia, then the president was not born in the U.S. And he says, you win birthers. Army. It's not about winning. That's how it's supposed to go. The power of the 10th Amendment, New Mexico, just proved that the state law trumps unconstitutional federal regulations and that the power of the sheriff is superior over federal agencies. And the sheriffs threatened feds with SWAT teams saying a giant has been awakened. I guess the sheriffs are meeting up and stuff around the country. Then next we have Fast and Furious case files have and it's gone. Email reveals police order to meet arrest quota even though they tell us that they don't have. And check it out, 3 top things to do in every police encounter. This is GGN. Thank you.